Good day everyone. The topic that I will discuss is all about sprint. Sprinting involves running at your top speed for a short amount of time. Sprinting is an aerobic exercise where the body cannot bring enough oxygen quickly enough to provide energy for the movement. Races were part of the original Olympic Games in the 7th century BC, as well as the first modern Olympic Games, which started in the late 19th century and featured the 100 meters and 400 meters athletes. Started both races from a crouch start. A sprint is a short running race in a track and field competition. There are generally three different sprint distances: 100, 200, and 400 meter sprint. The original Olympic event, the stadium, was a sprint of around 180 meters. The first 100-meter run took place at the first modern Olympics in Athens, Greece in 1896. It soon became as the star event of the Olympic Games, with the winner of the race known as the fastest human being in the world. The first Olympic track events for women are held at the 1928 Olympic Games. 200-meter sprint. This race is also known as the long sprint, in which athletes run 200 meters as fast as possible. In 1896, at the first modern Olympic Games in Athens, Greece, the 200-meter distance was officially set to begin, but due to some circumstances, the race was not held. This event was included in the 1924 Olympics in Paris as men's track and field program. Later on, the women's 200-meter event was added up in the Olympics. 400-meter sprint. The first track and field competition was held at Exeter College, Oxford, Great Britain in 1824 that included a quarter-mile race of 402 meters. This event dropped to 400 meters and was included in the first modern Olympics in Athens, Greece in 1896, but only for men. The women's event was later added in the 1964 Tokyo Olympic Games. Moreover, the men's and women's 400-meter races were featured for the first time in the 1983 World Championship held at the Olympic Stadium in Helsinki, Finland. Events in sprint. First, 100 meters. This is an outdoor race that takes place on a specially designed 100-meter track from 400-meter track. Often, the world record holder in the race is considered as the world's fastest man and woman. Second, 200 meters. This is usually begins on the curve of 400-meter track and ends straight. It is completed both indoors and outdoors with a slight difference time when compared to outdoor. Last is 400 meter. 400 meter, the start position is based on which lane the athlete is on track. The runner to first cross the finish line is the winner. The time taken to finish the race for each athlete is also tracked for historical record keeping. Rules in sprint. First, each runner must start behind the starting line and must not make any movement from the time they get set until the starting gun fires, or else they likely face disqualification. Next, sprinters should run in designated lanes and cannot cross lanes throughout the race. If a runner steps on the white lanes on either side of their lane, they will be deemed to have exceeded their lane, and runner will be disqualified or penalized if caught. Phases of sprint. Phase 1, the start. One of the first thing people envision when they think of sprinting is the starting position itself. That lowered stance, legs staggered behind the body, and hands anticipatorily waiting to rip up the track just as you launch into full speed. Start out in the 4-point stance position, when all 4 of your limbs are making contact with the ground. With your feet against the starting blocks, your legs will be in an offset position and your center of gravity shall be geared towards your leading leg. Your arms should be shoulder width apart and both the head and spine should be in straight alignment to ensure sufficient stability and power transfer as you propel yourself forward. The second portion of the 4-point stance, that moment when you see all the sprinter lift their hips into the air just before taking off. It's imperative to maintain that same spinal alignment from your head down to the low back. Per the National Strength and Conditioning Association, this should allow your front leg to be near a 90-degree angle and the back leg around 100 to 125 degrees. Many athletes will select their dominant leg to position up front, which you can determine with some assistance from a coach, trainer, or physical therapist. Interestingly enough, you may assume your dominant leg is the same as your dominant hand, but many studies have shown that people are actually more left leg dominant when it comes to jumping or taking off. So if you're unsure, the left leg may be a good place to start. Once your position is set, you move into the dynamic takeoff. As you launch into your sprint, you push directly off the blocks with both feet. Specifically, using the blocks at the start will allow for the maximum amount of horizontal forces you can channel into your propulsion. From there, your back leg will swing forward first in tandem with your contralateral arm, and now you're off. Phase 2, the acceleration, known as the transition phase of your sprint. The point of acceleration is when your body shifts from running with horizontal forces to primarily vertical forces. This phase happens extremely quick in real time, and adhering to proper form is imperative for your body to maximize its force generation as you move from a crouched stationary position to an upright sprint. For a successful acceleration phase, the key is to achieve full leg extension for maximal force production into the ground, which theoretically sounds simple but comes with a bit of a balancing act. To achieve as many forces as possible, lean forward as much as possible, typically around 40 to 50 degrees throughout the acceleration phase. Doing so will increase the angle of your shin, which keeps the back end of your foot further off the ground, and voila, your body produces the same amount of force but as minimal ground contact time through the balls of your feet. Phase 3, the drive, top speed. Once you move past the initial acceleration phase, you transition into the stride phase of your sprint, where you begin to run in a more upright position. Here, your head starts to rise, your spine elongates and straightens out, and your eyes are locked onto the end of your sprint lane. Sprinting means you present a high cadence frequency of stride with a faster stride turnover. Your feet make more contact with the ground, so it's important to maintain a foot strike underneath the hip. This will ensure that you minimize any braking process upon landing and continue at top speed. Phase 4, the deceleration. The name of this last phase is a bit misleading. You aren't trying to actively decelerate from your sprint. More so, this is typically the point in a sprint where an athlete's run low on power and have to work harder to stop up any fatigue or factors that may cause slowdown. Your deceleration phase is essentially the same as the drive phase, just with the added difficulty of having to keep up your anaerobic endurance. To help maintain that maximal force output in your final stretch of the sprint, be sure to achieve high knee action and plenty of arm drive. Keep those elbows bent at 90 degrees.